Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Talking Shit About with me, Elizabeth, aka Killizabeth, aka DJ Lizard Breath. I'm realizing that I'm not really introducing myself necessarily on the podcast, so hello there. I am involved in public radio. I have an English degree. I'm fucking crazy. I make weird metal atmospheric music ? And I also do illustration and graphic design. These are some of the things that I'm bringing to the table. I'm also bringing in guests the first Friday of each month to talk about something they hate or something they love, and we talk about it critically, and hopefully by the end we've all learned something. So I've got my friend Nick on this month, and he is one of the most level-headed, easygoing dudes. I'm so grateful that he was down to do this interview, especially because I haven't gotten to talk to him in like 2 years. And yeah, it's a good one, folks. So I hope you enjoy, and let's talk some shit.
Okay, you want to start this thingy? This is the first time I've ever been on a podcast, which is surprising given
Really?
like 5+ years at KBGA. Yeah.
Because you've done interviews, right? Like as an interviewer?
Not really. I've been in
Huh.
the room for other people interview. I've never been like the
Yeah.
interview,
Ooh,
the main host. I've always been
that's so
Andy
exciting.
Richter, I guess.
Cool. Well, welcome to the spotlight. Nic
Thanks.
Goodrich, aka Goody, aka Sophistical, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still doing that? Still making music?
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
maybe not
Yeah.
currently, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not done. It's not over.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
In what context? Bring me up a little bit.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk about EDM, electronic music. I don't really know where like the lines are in terms of genres, or like how particular you are in terms of like, oh, that's classified as X, Y, or Z. Just because like I'm not super familiar with that like any of those genres.
Mhm.
And so, but I know you have expressed opinions in the past about EDM like shows, and when we were together at KBJ, which for those of you who don't know is the college radio station at the University of Montana, and I never once heard you say, "Oh, we should really have an electronic artist at the show," or like, "Oh, we should do a rave." Like those were never things that I heard you say or like advocate
Yeah.
for. But I know you're like into those genres and stuff, so I guess, whatever you would want anyone to know about you, just kind of how you relate to this kind of music on like a personal level.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm Nick. I'm Sophistical on Spotify and all that jazz. SoundCloud, Bandcamp, find me, blah blah. I make electronic music. I used to DJ a lot. I don't DJ anymore, for a multitude of reasons. Part lifestyle, part practice, part mostly people and being in a small town. It's just kind of, it does not that much work available for EDM DJs in a small town. And then I got into music at a very young age. My mom was a piano teacher. I played in school bands in high school and college. I was a jazz major my first 2 years of college, and then I dipped and started studying digital art, and then got tricked into going to a couple raves and kind of like fell absolutely in love with going to electronic shows. The idea of becoming an electronic musician in whatever capacity that may be. And EDM is
What
kind of, huh?
oh what like drew you to the shows and the raves?
I started listening. I guess started listening to some of the music beforehand, and
Mhm.
got kind of tricked into it my first time. I won't lie. My friends were like, "Yeah, we're going camping," and then we set up camp at the rave, and I was like, "Oh, cool. Here we go."
Do you remember which one it was?
No, it was none of them. They all kind of just blended together in those first years because it was such a yeah. But in Montana, the way they were set up was always typically just out in the woods down out towards Idaho in the but at Lolo Hot Springs, and
Yep.
a couple out in Hogan, and then out where they used to have the the Testicle Festival on I-90. There were some out there as well. And yeah, everyone's just kind of out there with the trees, with the critters, with the animals, and you sleep about 40 meters away from the speakers, and you don't really get sleep for that reason because they keep going all night. And um, yeah, just something about the chaotic energy of that was really uh, accompanied with like this wild music and these crazy sounds I had never heard before that were just very easy for me to fixate on from like an artist standpoint. Just
What are
became
the
obsessed with those.
Yeah, what are those elements that really like draw you in? Like for me, it's like a funky bass line and then like fancy snazzy drum work. Like those are my two, like when I hear those and I hear like a solid beat, I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like that's what draws me in. So what is it or what draws you in with electronic
The first
music?
the first thing I remember hearing that obviously bass is the bass is so obnoxious. That's like what everyone is like, whoa, cool, nice bass. I feel that. And then but beyond that, the sound design is really amazing. I think it's like my favorite piece of good electronic music is that it's just letting it's really dorky. Sound designers are just big dorks, and just letting them play and make wild and wacky things is really cool. And that's like the biggest thing in the music EDM music world and producer scene is I love when someone says to me, "That's a cool sound you made," because it's you just fabricated this thing from nothing basically, and hearing that for the first time from that creator's perspective was really cool.
Oh, I love that. Aw, what artists inspired you, especially from the beginning?
I remember I had we took a music technology class in college, and we started talking about Skrillex the first day, and it was literally the first time I had listened to, not the first time, but like thought about Skrillex for a second was in a college classroom without the just like going, oh yeah, Skrillex is good, whatever, moving on. And then we
Uh-huh.
talked about him a tech class, and that kind of ramped up the whole thing. But
Mhm.
what really got me into sound design and the musicality of everything is the producer named Mr. Bill. I highly recommend
Mr.
everyone
Bill.
listens to Mr. Bill. He's phenomenal. He's this Australian dude who just moved to Colorado a few years ago, and he does a bunch of education. He does a bunch of music and music production education stuff, and it's very highly respected in that regard. He's just so good. Yeah, that's all I can really say about him. Uh, so Mr. Bill and Skrillex are the main ones, the first like initial ones for me, and then my best friend Matt really kind of kicked my ass and got me to commit to doing it. So I always want to shout out Matt wherever I can. Matt's the dude.
The guy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
he was like, "You're gonna be on my radio show with me, and we're gonna talk about bass music on the radio." I was like, "Okay, cool."
Wait, which Matt is this? Is Matt Riley? No.
No, Matt Freeman.
Oh, okay. There.
Yeah, what DJ Wildcard?
Cool.
He was at
DJ Wild.
KBGA like right before us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the production
Yeah.
person right before I was.
I can't imagine a KBGA without you as like the productions engineer.
Matt looks like me and talks like me, and we have very yeah. So it's basically the same thing. He's the same guy.
Well, let's take a step back. And for those who are like totally like my mom who's listening, hi mom, who aren't familiar with like electronic music at all, what how would you define EDM, electronic dance music, and maybe like some larger name artists that people might recognize,
So
like
yeah,
Skrillex?
so yeah, so EDM is kind of like an umbrella term for 100 different genres. That's how everyone always explains it, but it's really just repetitive, loud music that's typically generated on a computer using samples, digitally generated and analog recorded sounds in every capacity, but it's very repetitive and you can always kind of predict what's happening next. It's this like precisely formulaic way of knowing exactly what's next, and it feels good when you know, it's very uh, cathartic. Makes you feel ecstatic, you could say.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sure, let's use that segue.
Yeah.
Um, so I know the one rave I went to, which was Shine in Lolo, which like
Mm,
we can tell that story if we want. Yeah, drugs were definitely a thing. I think I was drugged.
yeah.
Like I ended up on top of the mountains like during sunrise. Like it was a good time in the end. Yeah, I am aware that it's a problem. Have you had any like experiences or like I guess in general thoughts as well about the
Drug
dangers
use in
and
the
the
scene.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. It's a definitely a part of why I'm not as active as I once was in the scene. I've seen too many people get sick, get hurt, take drugs they didn't know what they were. I've been to shows where the music was not the focal point of the event because of the drug situation. Uh, but all of that is it's always going to be there. I think it's hyper, you can't possibly ignore it in a place like Montana where there's like barely a million people here, So the scene is small, and what do I want to say about this? This is this is where I could step on toes
Yeah.
because people just like
Nick is making a great face. You guys couldn't see it, but it was a good face.
let me think about. I need to think about this for a second. So basically, people here got together, did their drugs, played their sets. It kind of, and they just kind of kept doing drugs afterwards and into the morning and the whole time. And there was no breaks, and there was no like. It just felt very. See, now I feel scattered as hell. So I think the problem with the drug scene here at our small little scene was just the not that everyone was purely focused on them, but that there were enough people that were just there for the drugs that it as a performer it made me feel cheap and dirty, kind of made
Mhm.
me feel like an accessory to this other thing. And the other thing was kind of sketchy at times. And EDM and drugs are always going to go together. They're a match made in heaven. You really can't do it better, honestly. There's like no avoiding that. And just having so little, so like the only safety net at those festivals is a hospital, is a ambulance, or it's your friends to come and like hydrate you. But in case of like real emergencies, you're in the middle of the woods, there's just an ambulance that can drive you, an hour and a half to the hospital. I don't know. It's all very precarious,
Yeah.
and there's a long history of drugs in music, and EDM is just kind of another instance of that happening. I think that's part of why I probably never would have said let's throw a rave at the radio station, because I just know that like discourse ensues, as soon as you throw a rave, if KVGA's name is all over it and somebody gets, yeah.
Story time. The one time I had an electronic show at my house, the castle back in Missoula. I don't believe it's active anymore, but we used to do house shows. And for my friend's birthday, she was an electronic artist, and she was in the middle of a breakup where she was kind of in, still living with her partner, but was broken up. And so she was just kind of having a rough go in general. So it was like, birthday party, let's do a show, an electronic show. And I think I maybe picked one or two of the artists, but I let her do most of the coordination, and
Yeah.
one of the artists was her like ex-boyfriend's best friend, and I can't remember his name, but if I knew it, I would say it on this podcast. I do not give a fuck. Um, Fuck that guy. He's the reason why we had a not allowed list. It was like just him. It's just this one guy. And all night he's like giving people bad vibes and like trying to give people drugs. And he's like giving my friend like questionable blow in the back, like in the laundry room with the cats, and like I'm not stoked about it. I'm like, you can't do that here. Like that's not all right.
Mhm.
Like that's not the vibe I want. And he's cordial. He's like, okay, whatever. I was like, okay, fine. Like this is for my friend's birthday, and like I was like, oh, I wasn't like drunk because I never got like drunk at my house shows, but I was like, doing my own thing and not really like that worried about it. But by the end of the evening, everybody had like a story on this guy, like, oh yeah, he was like super creepy and like blah blah blah. And his set was garbage. And he didn't bring like a little table or anything, and he like didn't have much of a setup, and so like I don't know, it was like a whole debacle to like get him a table. And then like anytime we did, he's like, "Oh, I don't like this one." It's like, dude, you're gonna have to fucking cope or like do some like critical thinking here. Like this is like a punk house venue typically. Like you got to give us some like leeway here. Um, yeah, he was just rubbing everybody wrong the whole night. And then he tried to take our friend home, and she was fucked up, like couldn't stand up. And she had some friends that were with her, and they were like, no, 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 like you can't take her. And then I found out and was like, oh no, she's not fucking, like get the fuck out of my house. And then he was like, no, like I'm not leaving. And then all at once, like for all my ex's faults, this is the one time where I feel like him getting violent was like kind of appropriate. He just shoved him. Um, but like he like physically would not leave our house. And so like him and like my brother and this other like huge guy like just like took him outside and literally just threw him off the porch. And this was like February. And like, just like get the fuck out of here.
It's
Um
frigid
oh,
out. Yeah.
yeah, and like before this, like right before this, I forgot this part. There was this guy sitting on a couch, and he was just sitting there for a long time, and he was vaping, which I wasn't stoked about. And he just like leaned over and just like threw up on the floor and the couch, and I was like, "Yo!" And he was like, like he was like breathing and stuff, but like totally incoherent. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna
uh,
stick this guy out in the cold because it's February and he's gonna die. And so I was like, yo, whose fucking friend is this? If no one like fesses up, like I'm calling 911 because this guy like can't be outside, but like can't be in here. And then his friend was this like shithead was like, oh yeah, no, like he's with me, he's with me. I'm like, okay, cool. You two get the fuck out of my house. And then he tried to take my friend, and then yeah, that's it. This isn't the worst storytelling I've ever done. It's not great. But it's not the worst. Um, yeah, so they throw his ass outside. My friend gets taken home with trusted people, and all is well until the next morning. And my brother tries to go to work, and like my poor brother, he's just like living his life. There's a fucking like windshield wiper like stuck through his windshield of his truck. And we're
Whoa.
just like, what the fuck? Like, fuck this guy. And like, luckily his insurance covered it and it was fine. But like, oh man, I was feeling some emotions about it. And like, so we had to start like a band list, and it was like whatever that guy's name was, aka DJ, whatever. And then like his friend that puked on the couch. And then like I think we added like Nazis or whatever, and my brother's like, you don't need to add that. And I was like, I just want it to say more things than like this like one guy. So it's not just like that. I don't know. Like might as well. It doesn't hurt.
just petty. It's a little more
Yeah.
than just petty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
But
I think
yeah,
I
no
think part of
EDM.
the yeah, I think part of the problem with the crowd sometimes is that everyone is very accepting and everyone's very kind and loving and takes really good care of each other for the most part, you know? And that's what people are drawn to, if not for the music. You know, a lot of people just want a place to go be a weirdo, and rave culture can facilitate that. But in that same like vein of acceptance, kind of is like accepting of people who may do things, like people who might do exactly that thing. That guy probably feels right at home at the rave because he is, and then he leaves and starts giving people bad drugs, and it reflects poorly on the whole scene. So, you know, it's there's
Yeah, and it's
beautiful
not
people
like
and
yeah.
there's beautiful people in the scene, and there's like an ugly underbelly that is just always going to be there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not. I think too, like EDM does get a bad rep because like we can't pretend there's not a huge meth problem in like metal scenes and like
Yeah.
not to name names or anything. Yeah, and like all across the board, there's like alcohol abuse, like especially in
Oh yeah.
Missoula. And I'm not just trying to like preach that as like a now sober person, but it's like it's a problem of like across the board. It's like some kind of attitude where it's like I have to get fucked up to have a good time, and then it just kind of draws out the weirdos, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't condemn a whole. I mean, like did technically condemn a whole genre, but like yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I would. But not the music itself, maybe the scene, but like I never thought about it like from like an artist perspective of like yours specifically of like, you are being like as an artist, you're vulnerable and you're sharing this like art that you've made and these people are just like yeah, like taking advantage of that and not really like I don't get people who go to shows not to listen to music like even if you're
I
like
do.
going for the social aspect, but
Yeah.
like you still like respect the music. It's like a thing, you know? Yeah. I don't know. Man, that's such a bummer. Sorry. I was like way more like, oh, that makes me really sad.
Oh, I mean,
No.
yeah. I think, like I keep saying, the point I've been saying, some of the problems that I experienced are because I'm in a small town where it felt like even if I was dying to play more and more music, there's just no space for me. And at the end of when even just before the pandemic, that kind of everyone was kind of like coming to their senses on those woods raves. They were like, okay, maybe they were happening less and less frequently. I think
Mm.
everybody's kind of come to a similar conclusion of like, maybe we should not, or maybe we should do this right if we're going to do this and be safer. And there's like a new venue in Missoula, on the hip strip, where like right next door to Betty's and all that jazz and the bridge, that's like open till 7 a.m. and they do like hype parties too.
When
Let me
you
look
were
at your
in New York, because you went to New York before the pandemic, right?
yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you went to some shows out there?
No,
No? Oh.
I was in New York when lockdown started.
Oh shit, that's right. Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you were yeah, okay.
I had been there. We got to the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, it was spring break. I flew out there for spring break to go see New York City for the first time. We were gonna go to some shows. We had tickets to Hamilton even. We were gonna do all the dorky stuff. We got to the Statue of Liberty and like did that whole tour. And then on our ferry ride back, everyone on the bus was, or everyone on the ferry was like, oh, this city's shutting down. It's over.
Oh
And
god.
someone's like, three different people sent me the headline, COVID shutters Broadway, because that was the day Broadway shut down. And
Mm.
we had Hamilton tickets, and we were like, oh no. So we went back to my friend's aunt's house who was hosting us, and she was like, "We got to get you out of here. They're going to shut down the airport. You're going to be trapped here forever if you don't leave right now." So basically landed, went to the Statue of Liberty and left. So
Oh.
it was wild. And then and that was the week of Radiothon too. I remember that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the week I lost my marbles officially. Um, have you been to shows in like other places outside of Montana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. They're much better. There's a festival in Colorado I really like called Sonic Bloom.
Sonic
Uh,
Boom.
I've seen all these like tents, med tents and stuff to get things you need. What's that drug they give people who overdose on opiates?
Oh, Narcan?
Yeah, they've got like Narcan and earplugs and all that stuff for you if anything happens. And they took down like my age info when I got earplugs from them, and I was like, "Oh, cool! You're keeping stats on who's getting earplugs. That's so thoughtful.
That is
So
really, yeah.
It's so helpful." Uh, yeah, there are like people who do take precautions. I think it's just with the level of with that many people, you obviously just have more and more rules to follow. But I've also been to some shows in LA recently, and those are a completely different thing that seem much more appealing to artists, honestly, because there's a full functioning scene for it.
Yeah.
of people who give a shit. Colorado's good. The Spokane scene is the whole Pacific Northwest is kind of this like woods rave thing going for it that maybe not so much, obviously not so much anymore since the pandemic, but I think that's just the style up here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a metal festival. Actually, there's multiple metal festivals in the woods. It's a thing.
I actually knew a lot of metal kids who would come to the shows.
Overlap.
Yeah, there was a weird overlap there. They would come, and it was all the like nerdy metalheads, the ones who were like music theory geeks and stuff. They would come and listen to drum and bass and dubstep, and would just like, you know, bang their heads a bit.
Yeah. Dude, dubstep, especially when I used to play like soccer in high school, like I'd always use it to get fucking hyped. It's hype music. Do you have any stories you want to share from any shows or anything? It's super open-ended.
Yeah, that's like someone asked I was with a friend and his kid the other day, and the kid asked me, "What's your funniest story?" And I sat there for a second and I actually thought about it. I was like, that's a big question.
Yeah. Okay, what's your like weirdest memory?
Weirdest memory?
Yeah.
Oh God. Here's kind of something very endearing I find about here's an endearing story about the Montana scene. I was at a pirate party and I had a set to play first thing in the morning. I was the one to wake everyone up at like noon. I had a 12 o'clock DJ set, and I had this thing all picked out and all this stuff ready and all this music ready to go. And I go over to the stage and it's completely powered down. And I'm like trying to figure out how to turn it on. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So I was kind of getting scrappy and like looking at the back of all the machinery and trying to figure out how to turn it on and get it running. And it ended up somebody was just like, just go knock on his door. I was like, who? Like the guy who's running the stage, he's asleep in his camper. And I was just banging on his camper door for like 15 minutes, yelling his name out. And he finally came and like opened the door, pretty kind of irritated, but mostly fine. And he goes, "What?" I was like, I'm supposed to play music now, sir, please. And he goes, "Okay." And he literally just goes down and flips the switch on his generator and goes back into his chair. Okay, got it. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like I felt like I should have tipped him. You know what I mean? But that was it like a very wholesome moment, I felt like, despite the fact
Yeah.
that he's probably in there experiencing the worst hangover of his life. We can let's talk about you put on your little list of
Oh yeah,
prep
what else we
here,
got on there?
genres and stuff. You said at the beginning you don't really know about EDM genres.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you think of that? I'm just curious.
I mean, I was trying to think of like artists and I meant to like look some up. There's like electronic music, like I don't know, just like beeps and boops, and like you've got just, I don't know, you've got your more like I feel like disco kind of like beats, and then you've got your I don't know, dubstep, and then you've got um I don't know, probably some kind of like droney stuff. I don't think I'm a good person to answer the question what is electronic music because all I've got is beeps and boops and
I
disco. So
feel like we got into it for a second and then we got distracted by the whole drug conversation because that is such a thing that people think of. It's just an obnoxious thing that gets in the way
yeah.
uh, of every facet of life. People just doing drugs everywhere you go. Yeah, so you had asked what to tell people who aren't super familiar with about EDM and what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Went over that a
right.
little bit, but it like gets split up in all these different genres, and then there's like cliques and subgenres within EDM of people who don't necessarily associate with other EDM people. Like there's house music, dubstep, drum and bass is like finally getting to be big in America, which I'm very excited about. Like you can go see drum and bass now, and used to not be able to. It used to be strictly for like the rest of the world to play. And in America, there it like in like 2016, 2017, when I would have been getting when I was probably the most involved, everyone was on SoundCloud posting bro step, which is that like super over the top. I heard someone call it highlighter music once. It's just that really like it sounds like highlighters. If you like if you drew a picture with highlighters, that's what it sounds like. Because all the sounds are just so over the top and like absurd and aggressive. And it kind of is like that Transformer stuff that was like a big meme in like the early 2010s. That type of shit, those types of noises, which was just kind of like dumbed down dubstep because dubstep is this whole other thing from London that is sounds completely different than it does here. A lot of the shows I go to are like just bass music centric, which is uh, kind of the new way of avoiding saying EDM. You call it bass music so
Mm,
that people don't, because EDM just kind of has like
yeah.
it's kind of like a dirty word now
Oh,
in a lot of circles.
yeah. Where does house fit into everything?
House is definitely EDM. House is the most casual, I would say, from like a event perspective.
It's
You know what I
casual
mean?
music.
I mean,
No,
like
I know, I'm just fucking
it's
with you.
it's it's one of the more palatable ones. Like
Yeah.
people can get down. It's kind that's kind of the everyman's EDM, I would call it.
Yeah, like the background music and like Mass Effect when you go to your like bedroom and you get to put on like the have you
Yeah,
played Mass Effect? Yeah, yeah.
I just
No.
actually just recently started playing Mass Effect 2. I've never finished a Mass
Nice.
Effect game before. I always get kind of it kind of is happening to me again, or I'm getting kind of dogged down by the dialogue. But
Oh man, I'm like the opposite. I'm like, yeah, like chatting it up, but I get it.
nice, yeah,
House music,
yeah, yeah.
dubstep.
House music is, and then dubstep is. It's really all just like tempo signifiers is the thing. Like once you start making more and more electronic music, it's house music is 120 BPM to 128, and then you make your breaks at 130 BPM, and then dubstep is like 140 to 150, and halftime feel, and drum and bass is like 165, 172 in there, and it all is just that's really the only that's once you hit those markers, it's kind of you only have you only have a couple options if you're going to play music at that tempo. House music is the best example of that because house DJs don't have to change the tempo once throughout the whole night a lot of the time, and that it
Nice.
makes it really fun to DJ. It makes it really fun to dance to because it's consistent.
Yeah, I remember one time I was at the Badlander, ugh, and not that I haven't had good times at the Badlander. There was like I think it was one of the 90s nights, and they started, even though it wasn't 90s, they started playing Lady Gaga, and I like jumped up off the table, not off the table, but like from the table, and was like, oh, I'll like fucking dance to some Gaga. Like, brought me back to like middle school. I was like, yeah, okay, like here I come. And like the second I got into it, he like changed the music and he like changed
Oh
the
yeah,
song like right as he hit the hook. And I was like, well, I'm out. I'm gonna go sit back down now.
yeah. Well, that's club DJing. That's like
Yeah.
so can be so like it's for people with really short attention spans because everyone is trashed and doesn't want to hear the whole song. When I did club DJing, I kind of got some shit because I didn't want to play just like pop remixes. I tried like I was a pretentious little college student. I was like, no, I'm gonna play this cool artsy shit before 11 o'clock. And
Yeah.
one day somebody came up to me and just handed me a hard drive and was like, there's a ton of pop music on this for you. And I was like, I love pop music. I just, that's not what I'm here to do. Like, I make and perform bass music. I don't want to, I want to listen to pop music in my own time. So that's why there was like a hard end to me DJing. And it was that night when another DJ handed me a hard drive and was like, you need to use this. And I was like, I'm not going to. I just don't want to. Nothing against what you do. It's just not, I can't imagine committing my time to this to be out once a week, all night, to get paid like $100 at the most. Because inevitably, like you're at that venue all night. People are buying you drinks. You just kind of fucked up and just stuck there until they pay you. And that's it's just not a very sustainable thing to be doing.
What's like your most memorable set that you've done?
At the last pirate party I went to, I think it was the last pirate party, my best friend Matt, who I talked about before, and I were at this big DJ's set. His name's Truth. I think he's from UK somewhere. I don't remember. But it was raining and we were watching Truth. We were excited to see him, and then the rain like blew the equipment. The whole system was down for like
Shit.
2 hours. It sucked. Wasn't his fault. Wasn't anyone's fault. Something just got wet that shouldn't have gotten wet. And then Matt and I had a set at 2 a.m. that night, and it was on top of this like double-decker pirate ship school bus thing that we were really excited for. And right before we started, someone came up to us and was like, hey, we know you were at the Truth set earlier. Do you guys want to give your spot to Truth? He wants to play. He came all the way from the UK. We're like, no, he's on tour. We're going to play. He can do whatever. He can play he's going to play Shambhala next weekend. We will be doing this.
Yeah,
like,
this is your thing. Yeah.
This is what we came for. And after that, we knew that he was down there. So we kind of just had like a petty moment and just had like real good time being rude.
Hell yeah. What kind of advice do you have to any like young artists out there that are, or old artists that want to put stuff out there, like want to ingrain themselves in the scene or just like want to be involved in that kind of community? Do you have any, or like, looking back at young Nic, do you have any guidance for him?
I would say if you like electronic music, go to the shows, participate, be careful, be safe. Not everyone there is your friend. As cool as Plur is, not everyone there is your friend. But most specifically for people who want to get into like music production, because that's really the only realm I am involved in anymore. Listen to Mr. Bill. Watch Mr. Bill videos and don't limit yourself to making EDM because there's a way more electronic music than just dance music. Do some research on like French artists from the early 20th century, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, he's the German dude, Musique Concrète in France, and
Dude, the
just
French make
understand.
fucking baller pop music.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a thing.
French pop is sick. Yeah, the American EDM is just very like marketed and kind
Mhm.
of puts this puts these blinders on people. They kind of don't. You say electronic music anywhere, and people are like, "Oh, you mean like not necessarily." You know, maybe yeah, but there's so much cool stuff going on a technology and an artistry level in so much good electronic music that like limiting yourself to I'm gonna be a dubstep producer is just kind of, it feels very limiting. And that was a big problem for me. I felt like, oh, if I'm gonna be making electronic music, I have to make this music so that people will actually be interested. And now I haven't released music in a long time, but now when I do make music, it's very like, it's less for the community and for other people. It's more for myself. And that is possible with electronic music as a medium.
Yeah. Yeah. Aw. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. The only other thing I had in my notes was misogyny, but that's really the same as it
Oh.
is everywhere else.
Yeah.
We don't really have to get into that. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, I don't
it's
know. I
pretty.
don't know any women. Not that I could really name any like EDM artists off the top of my head.
They're
Yeah, I
there.
imagine
Like
there's
Res is great, and the scene's getting a lot more inclusive and diverse. But I've heard way too many stories about women wanting to be involved in electronic music and having to being expected to do more by the people hiring them, being expected to, or like lots of sexual touching and
Mhm.
like people in charge of booking will do grimy shit a lot of the time. If you're a woman, they'll try to like not pay you, try to, I've just heard all these horrible things from women who try to be involved and they end up just not being involved because they are not willing to put up with the bullshit.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's kind of just the same across the board these days.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of really good queer producers coming up. Like More Kismet just graduated high school and is like this beautiful little non-binary person, and they're like at EDC right now. And high school graduation was last week. EDC headlining EDC is this week. You know, it's just like
That's cool.
cool. Yeah, and there is progress being made, but on the like I said, on my whole frame point of view is the small scene stuff. I think those are just inevitably more toxic. I hate calling things that now.
Yeah, but it
I feel
is what
so
it is.
tired. Yeah,
Yeah. Toxic. Does Britney Spears' Toxic count as EDM?
that's pop music. If you like, I don't know. I try to
Just
differentiate the
throwing it
two.
out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say anything with like any kind of beat now is EDM. Be like, oh, this is EDM.
yeah, that's fair. You're not wrong.
Yeah, dance music.
That's the other thing. People get really into the genre thing, and it's
Mhm.
in a way that like I can't do. I can't carry on a conversation
Oh, yeah, people are like that with like metal and like
with
I think it
everything.
drives some of my friends up the wall. It's just like I don't fuck it. It's like metal and it's like, well, what kind? It's like I don't know, like doom, I guess, but like what kind of doom? And it's like I don't know, I guess
Yeah,
sludge, like technically, but it's like no, it's like, oh no, that's not industrial, that's something, and it's just like, oh fuck, I don't
yeah.
know. It
It's a
sounds industrial. There's like booms and like I don't know, man, fuck.
yeah. It's so often like you'll hear a word in those circles, and then you'll try to use it later, and they're like, "No, you used that wrong. That's not what this is." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know, dude. This is just it's good music. Get over it. I don't know what to tell you."
When I was like 19, I ended up somehow at this like metal house and like now in hindsight like I know all of those people. I've like partied with all of those people, but like I was like this little like stranger, like no tattoos, really like with some like drunk dude who's a piece of shit, but that's beside the point. It was like this room full of like it's
Get
like
'em.
2 a.m. It's like this room full of like metalheads, they're like gambling and drinking, whatever, like on the floor. There's no furniture, everybody's fucked up, there's like PBR everywhere. Um, and this one guy comes up to me and he's like, "What kind of music you listen to?" And I know exactly who it was, like now in hindsight. And I was like, "Oh, I really like this artist Jesu." And he's like, "Oh, you mean Yesu?" And like 180s and like walks away. And I was like, I thought we could bond maybe on this like one artist that I used to classify as industrial until somebody told me it wasn't. I was like, I just don't know what to call it, but it's good. But yeah, that was just kind of my introduction to the metal scene in Missoula, was this one guy being
Yeah.
like, "You're saying it wrong," and then like walking away from the conversation. So I get it.
That was a big thing at KBGA, just at all times. Like some man, some public library dad walks in the doors and goes, "I want to play classic rock on the radio," and we would all be like, "No, you can't. You can't do that."
Go to the trail.
Yeah. And then he would just start spouting off artists' names, and we're like, "We know, we."
Good times. Also terrible times.
Highs
Being
and
honest.
lows, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got to plug, Nick? Where can people find your music and your stuff?
I am Sophistical on Spotify and SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Ooh Goody on Instagram. I never post on Instagram, but there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Cool. Yeah, I'll put links and everything on the
Cool.
bottom of whatever. Or it might be at the
Word.
top. I don't know. Wherever.
I just the only I have like some music that I plan on releasing in the next few years, but I'm trying to move before I finish anything. So
Where are you gonna move?
not totally sure yet. Still trying to,
Yeah.
figure that out. Just trying to get out of here. But
Yeah. It's a good call. Get out of Missoula.
yeah, so this is a conversation. We shouldn't include this, but my
Okay. Here, I'll
boss
stop
just
recording.
bought. Okay.
Here, bye. And that's a wrap for episode 12 of Talking Shit About. We'll be back next month with another topic. What is it? No idea. That's my phone. Maybe it'll be Ruby Ridge. Maybe it'll be something else. Only God knows. All right, see you next month. Bye. Love you.